Beanie Man.
Reggae music is the heartbeat of the Jamaican people.
Reggae music is life.
Reggae music is poor people's music. It came from the ghetto.
It is like soul food, something you cannot do without. And it's like water, something you cannot live without. And it's like love, something you have to have.
VP is reggae music, and reggae music is VP.
The story of VP Records is the story of Jamaican music, spanning from ska to today's dancehall. It is also the story of Vincent and Pat Chin, founders of VP Records, who brought their love of Jamaican music to the world. Vincent Chin made his first foray into the music business when he joined a jukebox company in the early 1950s.
I feel he had a great passion for the music long before, because as a youth growing up down in the South, he was very much into going to blues dances, Yes, he had the music in him before he went into the jukebox business. Probably that was one of the reasons why he took up that position, because he had loved it so much.
He worked for a company back home in Jamaica. The name of the company was Issa's, and they had many jukeboxes all over the country. So his job was to service the jukebox, empty the monies, and change the records.
He would start like on a Monday. He would start in the east coast of the island, and by midweek, Wednesday, he would find himself anywhere between Orocabessa or Ocherius. And then, he would work his way around to the north coast, and then by the Friday, he will be back into Kingston.
I don't think we had much of a selection, so most of the records that we usually change out was American records.
A lot of Decca and a lot of Capitol and, those records of those times, that Hissa would import into the country from Miami.
In our country, that's what they always play. They used to play a lot of American music there. Reggae music was hardly played in our country, and Sundays, no reggae music.
One of the reasons why this music had crossed over into the Jamaican country was because it was very danceable.
As rock and roll gradually replaced rhythm and blues, Jamaica did not stay idle.
Rhythm and blues was drying up. We started to do our own rhythm and blues, and then they developed out of that. But it didn't start as a business or an industry. It started out of really making records for the sound system, that the sound system could play for us to go into the dances on a Saturday night or on Sunday night and dance to.
The product of these various changes was ska. The early recordings were an attempt to recreate the rhythm and blues.
I remember that transition was very rapid, because I remember perhaps the first of the Jamaican popular songs was a song called Oh Man Yo. And within a few years after that, it was possible to go to a party and hear just Jamaican music all night.
Jamaica getting their independence, and everyone is happy.
As Jamaica was moving towards independence, opening a new chapter in the life of its people, the country's music industry was taking its first steps.
People are seeing space for their development that did not exist in colonial society before. People coming out with setting up little studios, many people with little shops, small shops, Some of them out of the back of vans, some of them, as I say, on the back of motorcycles.
Vincent and Pat Chin reflected the new spirit sweeping the island and opened Randy's, their first record store in Kingston.
We opened a small store in Kingston, East Street, in 1958.
The records that he was taking out of the jukebox, he used to store them in the garage at 65.5 Deanery Road. Rather than keep storing these records, why you just don't get somewhere and start selling them?
Because he had this history of replenishing the jukebox tunes and knowing of the value of those that he was taking out. He still made this older music available along with the newly produced stuff.
And we were very successful and we wanted a bigger store. So we rented a store at 17 North Parade,
which was a very small little part of an ice cream parlor that he rented from a Chinese immigrant. And it was through his father he got that premises. Through his father, William, he got that premises.
Set up in the heart of downtown Kingston, Randy's quickly became Jamaica's leading record store and found itself at the heart of Jamaica's booming music scene.
All right, you know, this is the VP experience, and it all started here. This is Chancery Lane, 17 North Parade.
Randy's on the South Parade, on the south side, South Parade side.
Randy's was one of those record stores where you would go in, and if you want to buy a radio or you want to buy any kind of gadget for your sound system or anything like that, then you could go there and you could get that.
a record store in Tennessee by the name of Randy's that used to sell a lot of jazz, and he liked that name, so we named the store Randy's, and it becomes his pet name. A lot of people then call him Randy's.
Don't do to buy a record, man. You have to hang out at the record shop and them things to see the next sound man and to know which sound him a play and all these things. The artists used to get job out at the front of Randy's, you know, because them sell the best record and every sound system right here and located in the right place. So, you know, it's just the right place at the right time.
Great sound record, CD 200.
Our main client and customers were the jukebox, were the sound system people who came in from the country and all over to buy the hard-to-get records. And we had started to import American records, exclusive. And it was really a competition to have all the latest. And I guess one of the reasons why they came to my store is because we were always with the latest.
Randy's was a central supplier of all the music. They weren't linked to any particular sound system, etc. So they were the most neutral record shop.
But the actual business started to really get big was when the distribution end of the record shop became more involved in wholesale.
It was just natural for me to do distribution right there, with not only my labels, but every other labels.
If Randy's don't order a record, you're not gonna get a big sale. So I remember when we did Aaron Baby, we used to take like, first day we took 10,000 records to Randy's and it was sold off like within 2 days. So everybody used to see like young producers coming in with records just to deliver to Randy's. A lot of country people were coming and buying from Randy's, and like a lot of foreigners would fly to Jamaica and go exactly to Randy's to buy all this record. Because Randy's used to carry a lot of everybody record, not just their own record.
And so Randy's as a store became very significant in the development of Jamaican music by becoming this venue where the independent producers could come and become and get involved by having distribution for their records that they were making.
Randy's is one of the first that is really going into distribution as a business and integrating it from production right through. I think that's the distinguishing feature.
In the late 1960s, as Randy's store was in full swing, Vincent and Pat decided to add another dimension to their operation and opened a recording studio.
There was a lot of studios start going up, and there's a lot of recordings, and that's when my husband decided to open the studio, because the independent producers did not have a studio to go to. So our intention was to open a studio that we could rent them the studio, and they would have a facility to record their songs.
Because at that time, it was just a handful of recording facilities. You know, they had like Federal Recording Studios down at Foreshore Road, Dynamics down in Bell Road, Treasure Isle run by Bond Street, Studio One up by Brentford Road. And I think that was about it at that time.
Studio 17 upstairs. Yeah, you are over at the studio.
Studio 17 started to kick off around 69, because it opened in 68, but it didn't develop a sound at the time. It was still, we were still trying to find a sound.
Oh shoot, cause the record shop wasn't up here then. The great Studio 17.
Dennis Brown, Alton Ellis, Delroy Wilson. So everyone at that time wanted to record at Randy's. You know, this was the studio.
But don't you ride like lightning? 'Cause man, if you ride like lightning, you'll crash like thunder. So come on down along the way.
No, to be honest with you, this is one of the greatest experience we have had in reggae over the years right here in Studio 17. Because sometimes when we're making the rhythms, you could hear the buses that is rolling downstairs, even in the record. Yeah? Because that was the fun of it. And Errol Thompson was here, and you know, he's the master magician as an engineer that really make things sound good.
Everyone wanted Errol. You know, Errol was the man. He was the engineer that was in demand. You know, from Scratch Perry to Bun Lee to Sonia Pottinger. And everyone knew it in the music fraternity that Errol was the engineer.
Like I was telling him earlier, you even hear the buses in the rhythm. Ooh, when it's rolling, it still works, yeah? No distortion, no nothing. No, the place is, if you see the place, it's so much like a storeroom now. I don't even know. Oh God, this is a piece. Oh, this is just a piece. No, this is just like a small piece that was in where we do the mastering. Because Studio 17, they had a big board. I haven't been upstairs in a while, but the foundation is still here.
All the big artists, them sit around this. From Bob right round, Peter Touch, the Wheelers, Lee Perry, Bunny Lee. Easy Snapping play a lot of tune on this though. So much artists that come up here.
And we used to use the studio a lot. You know, this is where we did Equal Rights with Peter Tosh. And we did Aaron Baby in the same studio. And we did a song for Joe White called Dread Out. But it was like the most popular studio.
We were just putting out hits after hits. There was not Anytime that was anything recorded there that was regarded as being a minor tune, everything was just pure hits. I mean, you know, it was, Randy's was on the pinnacle.
What I actually did there, if I can remember well, is some harmonies, for different gospel singers, Rita and myself and Judy. But it was producing almost everything that was coming out of Jamaica.
This place was a feeding tree. So great, so good. Give thanks, It should Studio 17 should still be running.
With Randy's and Studio 17 at the heart of the music industry, 17 North Parade became the main meeting point for artists and musicians.
Randy's was on the corner, and there's a street we call Agler's. So as a musician, you have to go in there and punch the clock to make your body know you're there to get work.
On any given day, whether a bass player, whether a guitarist, a keyboardist, a horns musician, or even a percussionist was going to be needed for a recording session, someone would be available.
Dennis Brown, Greg Rice, Jimmy Langdon, Keith Poppins, Stranger Cole, John Holt. You name them, they used to be down there.
When you want to find any artist, you have to go to Randy's store at North Parade in downtown Kingston, because everyone goes there. That's where everyone hangs out. I mean, if it's not a place like Studio One, it's down at Randy's Record. You could find every single artist there, every day.
You see, all of this place here is where we hang out, because it's like at the back of Randy's. Yeah? If you can still look, you see. Yeah, it's a Sly and Robbie. Sir Harry died. Like you see, still have music, international music corner, yeah? Our city. Yeah, international music city.
It's everything. It's just like with what was going on in America with the war in Vietnam. The revolution. It had to be different. It had to be fresh. It couldn't be dry. It had to be exciting.
And the music then was everyone that went in the studio. We gave of ourselves. It was all done in innocence and purity, because we had the opportunity to go in the studio and express ourselves through the music.
In the 1970s, you had people like Stevie Wonder out on the beach on the Sundays, Sting walking up and down the place with the police and their tape recorders. Lots of people, lots of rhythms that I hear now. I remember these people in the 1970s just being on the beach on Sundays, just chilling out. Some of them smoking ganja, going down to Bob Marley's studio, hanging out, because it was a place where, as the musicians say, there was a good vibe in the 1970s.
There was like a fun time. I can remember that, music was really the heart of the people, and because there was so much unrest in the country, I think they gravitate more to the music, to play the music, to soothe themselves.
With the 70s drawing to a close, the Chin family and Jamaica at large were faced with difficult economic and political conditions.
I was approached one time, somewhere up in Half a Tree. I was buying some Kentucky Fried Chicken for my girlfriend, and two guys came up and says, "What party do I defend?" And just out of the blue. I said, "What party?" I said, "I don't defend any party. I'm a music man. I defend music." So when they didn't get what they wanted to hear, they said, "Man, give me your money, man. Go and buy your food." So I said, "Well, whatever you have as change, you're welcome to it." But I left it at that.
Business people, in particular, had to face, what was happening downtown. That was the heart of the whole, violence operation.
And the area that Vincent and Pat were in downtown Parade became basically a war zone.
There was a lot of unrest with the politics in Jamaica, and we decided to migrate to the U.S.
I got involved in the spring of 1977 when I came up, and we set up shop in June of 1977. The very first shop we opened on Jamaica Avenue, 178-03. Jamaica Avenue was the very first Randy's VP. My uncle, Victor, had the name Chin Randy's, and he did not want to complicate people in New York that it was the same establishment. My father wanted it to be very independent. And I ran that establishment until 1979.
Randy's was an established business in Jamaica. So, you know, that transition, it wasn't like it was a new company in America that all of a sudden didn't have any relationships or pre-established relationships. So, you know, the company was established, you were still dealing with the same person, and there was a lot of sort of traveling back and forth. So the network, you know, that we talked about earlier, you know, was established already, and that network just sort of grew with us as we went abroad.
Randy's Records moved fully to Jamaica, Queens in 1979. The whole family was here and basically started VP Records, which represented the two founders of the company, which is Vincent and Pat Chin.
Hi, my name is Yellowman, and down in Jamaica they call me Mr. Sexy. And you see, I come to make you feel happy.
VP moving to the States, it perhaps brought about a shift in terms of focus, because that was a point of distribution for the music and so on. And clearly what it did was it brought an international dimension to our music that was not there before.
The US just represented a much bigger market, and with the migration pattern probably at that point shifting from the UK into the US, I think that the US market became a much bigger potential market.
Yeah, they were getting to be one of the most influential distributors in it, because I remember when I was at Island, Chris Blackwell alone wanted to get to the core people, reggae people in the street, and he wanted us always do something with VP because he said they had the, what do they call it, the marketplace, they call it the ethnic market locked up, you know?
The product that we were getting really was the product out of Jamaica. So that was kind of our primary focus. So, you know, the Bob Marley, whatever the Rastaman Vibrations album, we didn't get it from England, we got it from Jamaica when they pressed it there.
The growth of the company in America became entwined with the growth of this new sound, which is dancehall music. Two of the major producers that they worked with were King Jammies and Henry Junja Laws.
As VP Records was fast becoming the leading distributor of Jamaican music in the United States, dancehall was taking over reggae with equal speed and opening a new era for the music.
At that time, I mean, like we could feel where there was a search in the industry for something new. We went through the DJ thing where DJs dominated for a while, then singers took over again, and DJs, you know, and it's like we needed something new in music as well. And that era was a launching pad for what has evolved into today's dancehall.
In that period of time, then you have a new generation who willing to explore, right? So within the exploring, something have grown from that.
There was definitely some kind of a switch going on where the dancehall stuff was really kind of coming to the fore, and the roots stuff was still there, and there was obviously, you know, still huge, you know, acts that did that type of music. But there was definitely whether it's the younger people were picking up on the dancehall stuff, and that was definitely what was growing.
What dancehall is, it's street music. You know what I mean? It's a music that basically captures the essence of what Jamaican urban music is.
Dancehall is it's my business. It's a Jamaican thing.
Reggae, the one drop rhythm we call it. You know?
You're comfortable with that, so
yeah. But mine now, you gotta like, you know, you have to move, you know, get crunk. It's sweet. Dancehall music is so sweet.
It is the rhythm of taxis driving down the road at full speed and people running across the road and lots of people with concrete and steel and rectangular up and down and lights and so on. That is what is being reflected in the music.
Dancehall just love problem, no love problem, sex problem, no sex problem.
That's your problem.
Dancehall are just everything, right? Social commentary, government, Babylon, everything. Dancehall are just.
VP Records in America became the quote-unquote dancehall label.
With dancehall growing in popularity, major record labels started paying attention to this new music. It was not long before artists like Shabba Ranks and Supercat helped the music cross over to a wider audience.
There was a few songs that was knocking on the door for the music business to open internationally and let in a few artists. And those artists, the timing was perfect, especially on Shabba Ranks. He had the image, he had the profile, the song, and this song was very sexy, and dancing and grinding music was really in that at the time. So I think the timing was perfect.
Right at this juncture, we had Shabba Ranks really blowing up on the underground here in New York through VP, and artists like Supercat, Beanie Man, etc.
Yeah, in the early 90s, you know, you had this, you know, whether it's the Yellow Man phenomenon and Shabba, and then, you know, a lot of the majors started to sort of come in, signing acts directly. I think Barris at one point was signed, Shabba, Supercat. I mean, so there's sort of this feeding frenzy, if you will. A lot of American labels were, whether they're going to Jamaica or signing acts through America.
The majors in America started to take notice, and so they signed Shabba Ranks first, and then I got a deal at Columbia Records to do A&R, and I signed Supercat, Cobra, Diana King. Tiger was signed by the West Coast of the company. I also signed Tony Rebel. Quite a few of the acts.
There was that time in the early 90s when all of the Jamaican acts were signed to the major labels. She was responsible for quite a bit of the signing. And it was almost as if the labels one night got up and in concert they dumped everybody.
It was the failure of, from the companies, the majors' point of view, the failure of these artists to take off. But there, if you look at the sales of what is called reggae music, they definitely begins to decline in the early 90s.
So where we all returned to was VP Records.
It's good over evil. War is not the answer, because only love can conquer. Right now, rhythm will I.
In Jamaica, we were into the distribution side. We weren't purely a retail. So the thought process of having a label was there already. So it wasn't something new and we just sort of stumbled into it. There was an established pattern there from Jamaica. So once we decided and we saw the demand, whether it's on the distribution side or the label side, we know the pieces to put in place to get that started.
The move is to have the label and to set up, because the industry needs them, and you know they've built a relationship with all these people over the years, and they've been through the mill, you know, and knowing exactly what the people need and what they could do better. And it's like growing with someone from primary school till they reach university. You know what I mean? And they know. There's no one else could understand what this culture or what this music needs like those people, like VP.
It was VP which really stayed the course. when all the outsiders, the major companies, got skittish about Jamaican music, VP stayed the course.
At that point, we wanted to market and promote the products that we had on a bigger scale. So we started a label, and I think that was probably the driving factor at that point.
I give them a lot of credit for staying with it and investing in it, you know, when it was down with the people used to curse the music and said nothing's happened with the music, reggae is over, it's not selling. And when VP stuck with the dancehall thing, I keep putting it to the people, and then people say, yeah, we're ready for this, you know. So I could give them like a lot of A's.
It was Beenie Man who really signaled the turning point for VP from a small independent distributor into something more like a record label, because it was Sim Simma, Who Am I, which really catapulted VP into the mainstream.
Yes, I told you once and I told you twice that I am the girls, them sugar. Now the girls them attack me and the girls them rush me because them are driving the beamer. And the girls them flavor, I'm no slaver. I am the helper, no helper.
Chris Chin was the one that gave we as independent producer some form of appetite to continue producing. Even if it is minimal, but at the end of the day, something is there for we. And it gave us more appetite to go in the studio, produce more songs. So Chris filled that vacuum for individual producers.
Well, the good thing about VP is that there were outlets. Because where dancehall music is now, you see all these majors buying into dancehall. Trust me, back then there was no outlet. VP was the only outlet. And they were that little candlelight that you could see at the end of that tunnel.
Because VP now, being in America, was the label that really could understand the culture of the environment of the music, and itself as a company was moving to have major outreach outside of the Jamaican community to the crossover market.
So it is, I suppose, a reward for years of slugging it out in the music industry that finally the investment that they have been making in developing their distribution networks, in promoting artists, finally allows them to come into an appropriate business alliance with one of the majors. But as you know, that whole world of the majors is a very cutthroat world, so it's a big league VP is playing in now.
But I guess the unique thing about VP is just that, we're just soul reggae. This is part of our culture, and we understand how to market them, and when the time is right, to kind of bridge that gap from being just a core reggae act and probably taking them over to a crossover act. And I guess with the alliance, the venture we did with Atlantic was, the success of that was basically that. We knew that we had something good, and we just needed, a partner.
That was a good move. That was a very good move. I mean, every company had, from back in the days, if you look in history, every major label and every record label had some kind of joint venture somewhere along the line. And that's how the industry run. It's happy, it's very nice to see a VP record had get recognized by a major company and say, oh, okay, we got to do business with these guys. It was an honor to see that happen.
I was impressed. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, look at our little music in the majors now. Our dancehall singers have got music videos. They got their own music videos.
Well, let's get it on till the early morning, girl. It's all good, just turn me on. Yo, shake that thing, miss. Kinda shake that thing, yo. Annabella, shake that thing, miss. Donna, yo, Miss Jody and the one named Rebecca, yo, shake.
When you talk about how far reggae music has come in America, you have to give it up to VP Records, coming from Jamaica and bringing us along with them to the mainstream market in America. VP Records have been blessed, man. It's a good family, we love them.
VP is the #1 dancehall and reggae independent label in the world.
Yep, good to go. I've seen enough dance before, but I've never seen a dance like this. I've seen enough dance before, but I don't wanna come top the list. All right.
VP has its ears close to the streets.
Yeah, VP has helped tremendously in the dancehall area. Like VP has helped in all the other genres of Jamaican music. Rocksteady, reggae, you know. They're always there. They're Jamaicans, man. Yeah.
VP was the only, or is the only, distributor that we know that really do something for Jamaican music.
Thank you, Mama, for the 9 months you carried me through. All those pain and suffering. No one knows the pressure you bear, just only you. Give you all my love, oh yeah. Well, thank you, Mama, for the 9 months.
No one understands the Jamaican culture like a Jamaican, which is where VP comes in now. Jamaican owned, Jamaican run.
So far, the music has reached many more people than I had expected. I started out just singing in the country, and I give thanks for so far VP has made me where I am right now.
When you think of VP Records, you think of reggae music, you think of dancehall music, you think of the reggae culture. And they're pretty much, they stand for that.
Well, life we promote, which is righteousness. Saddam get a lick, wanna look and know. Jaja city, Jaja town, them want to turn it in a cold white town. I wanna look and know.
VP Record is not just VP Record. VP Record is us.
VP is a bomb.
So, you know, come a long way, still going a long way.
All we have is VP. So, you know, we are proud to be a part of this whole thing because they have been doing a wonderful job over the years for the music. They have taken the music to the 4 corners of the earth.
Just like I'm in Jamaica, New York,